Before we begin, thank you very much to Sean K for joining the Patreon campaign. Very appreciated. Thank you very much for supporting the channel and helping to keep it going. I count on your support in order to keep doing this, and it means the world to me when you do. So thank you very much for allowing me to keep doing this and allowing the daily content to continue. If you'd like to support me in the immediate future and get something out of it, my eBay sales are ongoing. We still have a few choice Transformers that still need a home, including a Masterpiece Lio Convoy, complete, unbroken, authentic, that I would really like to move here in the next day or two. Fingers crossed. And people asked me to list a bunch of Glios on my eBay, so I listed Glios. So anything you pitch in right now is basically going to make TFCon a little bit more affordable, which is very appreciated. So thank you guys. And if you take a look, I hope you find something you want. So today's a weird topic, and honestly, it's not the type of topic I would normally cover, but it is such a weird circumstance, and it's such an unusual one. I don't believe I have ever seen anything like this before, and in a 40-year-old franchise, that's saying something. So what we're looking at here is an article from TFW2005.com that is the original leak reveal, whichever you want to call it, of Buzzworthy Bumblebee Earth Mode Hound and Dark of the Moon Hatchet. These were really weird when announced because Hasbro had not had any word on them. I'm not even sure there were listings leaked for them yet, but apparently this was going to be a thing for a while. So let me read you the article because right now the article is hilarious. Coming to us this evening are two very unexpected reveals, Buzzworthy Earth Mode Hound and Dark of the Moon Hatchet. The photos in question only show them in their robot modes for now. Hopefully we'll be seeing their alt modes soon as well. Stay tuned for more info on these as it comes in. Let us know your first impressions on the boards. So the reason that this article is now hilarious is because the article happened in October, was posted October 13th, 2022. This article is a year old, and to this day, we have absolutely no info or no confirmation from Hasbro about the actual release of these two figures. Now, it's important to note that the site that first listed these images is an official site. It is a site from like an actual like distributor or dealer of some kind, and they were taken down within 24 hours of the pictures getting noticed. So it was very clear they were not supposed to leak them, but they're out on the internet now, so there's really no stopping it at this point. So whatever it was, this was not meant for public consumption yet, but somehow they already had these images. Now it's clear here, we got to point out, these are CAD images. These are not actual photos of the actual product. Computer simulation only. But it still leads us to an interesting question. Where are they? It's been a year. How? Even the earliest computer listings are like 6 months before we see physical proof of the toy existing. So this is weird. This is really weird. Now, to our knowledge, they are not canceled. Nothing has indicated that these toys have been canceled, but they are in complete limbo at the moment. So let's just kind of examine these for a little bit, just for the people who need a little bit of backstory and a little bit of reason why this is getting weird and weirder. So we'll start with Hatchet, who obviously is a pretty minor character. He's from Dark of the Moon, and he's from the team, the Dreads, which were the SUVs during the highway chase sequence. So the Dreads are already represented in studio series. 2 of them have already been released. They're retools of each other because, yeah, they're kind of twins in the movie. But Hatchet was the weird one because he's the quadruped. And he does, which does give you a little bit of distinction. And as far as Transformers go, is extremely unique. It's extremely rare when we get a full-size deluxe Transformer who does not have a bipedal robot mode. He doesn't have a robot mode at all. He has a beast mode and a vehicle mode. And in a different context, in a different world, that might actually be an interesting take on Transformers in general, or something you could do for a year and make the brand a little bit weirder and fresher for a while. But for now, it's just an interesting oddity, and I know a lot of people who would like such an oddity, and we have no confirmation of it. So when I look at this model, what occurs to me is that it's entirely possible that they designed this in CAD, but when they got the physical prototype in, it just did not work. And that happens sometimes. Like when you take it into physical, you find out these things are a little bit, these hinges are a little bit too small and they break too easily. These tabs don't quite reach. This doesn't line up the way that the CAD model said it would. You can digitally create it all you want, but until it comes off of a mold and off of a production line, you're not entirely sure. So for all we know, this one just got delayed because it has heavy amounts of fixes that it needs. Wild speculation on my part, by the way. I'm just posing, a hypothetical. And I think it's things like all of those windshields lasagnaed on top of this toy's back that makes me go, maybe they took this one back to the drawing board a little bit. But really, like, once they reach this, and once they put out CAD models, and once, like, distributors actually get their hands on production and promotional photos like this, that generally means it's on the assembly line and ready to mass produce. That generally means we can expect it in, like, another 3 to 5 months. This is bizarre that it's taken this long. Now, the character himself, like we said, pretty minor. And you can see, like, the toy does not exactly represent him very well. It is, for the most part, a space filler. If you're going to have full sets of teams in Transformers as a brand, then you do need to do the third Dread eventually. However, obviously, not come to fruition yet. And I think for Hatchet, it's especially important because we've never gotten an accurate Hatchet before. The last Hatchet toy, the only Hatchet toy we got, for some reason, was a jet. No one is entirely sure why, because there was no jet amongst the Dreads. And also, this didn't fit in with any of the... this didn't fit in with the deluxe Dread they released at the time. So it made it even weirder that this was a thing. I think it fit in with the Cyberverse line they were doing at the time, because Dark of the Moon is where they first did Cyberverse as like a micro toy line. So it fit in with that size. But it's weird that it was all we got. It's like to this day, and a weird choice too. So he needs it. He absolutely needs it. But where is it? So this is where I kind of examine Studio Series a little bit. So we know this is coming out in Buzzworthy Bumblebee. That's what the listings say, right? So there is another possibility in that, why would you make a completely new mold for a character who only appeared in live action verse and then shunt it into the Target exclusive line where, maybe like it's not going to do as well, because Buzzworthy does not do as well. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But why, when Studio Series is kind of struggling to actually fill out their waves, would you take a character who has never had an accurate toy and not put it in that toy line? You got to remember here, Studio Series is kind of struggling a little bit at the moment. Most of the live action characters are covered. They don't have anyone left except very minor characters like Q, DevCon people talk about. We're not getting a DevCon toy. And we're down to characters like that, and like Skids and Mudflap, but you're never going to see Skids and Mudflap ever again. It's one reason why I speculate Gamer Edition became a thing, because the toy line still sells, but they need something else to put out there in order to keep filling waves. And they've burned through most of the Optimus Primes and Megatron, so if we want Optimus Prime and Megatron to make the retailers go, ooh, hit the button and buy that, we need to actually have a new source of those characters. Boom. Video games. Perfect. So we're kind of in that realm here where I feel like it is equally possible that a toy, especially being a completely new mold, might have gotten overlooked and might have gotten pulled out of Buzzworthy and dropped into Studio Series instead. That would be a guess of mine, to where they changed gears just to make sure that they had another Studio Series figure from the Bayverse to drop into that toy line. Again, everything in this video is wild speculation, but I could absolutely see that happening because Studio Series needs the influx. It needs the boost. But that's just my thoughts and my opinions. What about Hound? So this is so bizarre. So we thought we would get Earth Mode Hound in Earthrise, because that's where the majority of the Siege figures were getting their Earth Mode vehicles. Is either that or they got, maybe you had to wait until Kingdom to get your turn. High sideswipe. But you got it. You got it within like some relevancy. And that was supposed to be the whole idea behind that trilogy, was the characters start on Cybertron and then you see them evolve into their modern day and more recognizable forms. Except for Hound, who had to wait and wait and wait. So Hound, it's bizarre. Because not only have we, let's examine this for a little bit before we go on to the existence of this toy. I feel terrible for Hound. I feel absolutely terrible for Hound. He is the original 86 Autobot, and yet his first, one of his, but when this toy was going to come out, which, they try to make these kind of definitive as far as just show accurate and scale with others. And it was going to be a buzzworthy release. He's a year one Autobot. But that's not it. Hound always gets the run around. So if you watch More Than Meets the Eye, the original 3-parter, you can tell he was supposed to be the human connection character. The original story Bible for Hound actually states that he really enjoys the natural scenery of Earth. He prefers, the Earth scenery to Cybertronian or, being stuck in the base. And it even designates that secretly he wants to be human. He likes humanity that much. And you can tell with their interactions and how much they're around each other. Spike and Bumblebee don't actually interact during More Than Meets the Eye 1 through 3. It's Spike and Hound that are usually interacting. So it feels like Hound was supposed to be main character. Unfortunately, it also feels like somewhere in the test audience or somewhere in the toy sales department, they found out how popular Bumblebee was and switched gears before the main series of episodes got started. Either way, Hound got shafted. Hound was supposed to have a much bigger role. And since then, what major role has he had? The answer is none. The last time we saw him in animation was the Netflix trilogy, where he was mostly crowd filler for the Autobots during fight scenes. Didn't really play a major part in the story. And I feel bad, and that's it. That's really it. You think about this. How much of Transformers is G1 derived now? A lot of it. Most of it. With the exception of Robots in Disguise 2015, which actually dared to do a lot of different things. Every fiction that we've gotten in animation and in movie is somewhat derived from Generation 1. In the cartoons, you track it all the way back to the late 2000s with Transformers Animated. A few new characters here and there, but 80-90% of what we see on screen is a rehash of an old character. And when you talk about old characters who you never see anymore, you could point out to we don't really get Trailbreaker anymore, which hurts my heart. It really does. You don't really see Sunstreaker because Bumblebee ate his lunch. But Hound is different. He feels like he could fit in. He feels like there's no real equivalent in most of the cast for most of the series. They just don't use him. The only other major Hound that is in fiction? The live action one, which we've said many times on the channel, and I think you pretty much agreed upon at this point. He's closer to Bulkhead than Hound. He's Hound in name only, aside from just being a green military vehicle. It's not him. It's not him. So Hound's had a rough go of it. Hound's had a really rough go of it over the years. For a year one Autobot, I really feel for the guy. And now this is an even stranger incident, because now the newest wave of deluxes that is out for Legacy Evolution includes Hound's repaint, Detritus. Or Detritus, if we have to put a Cybertronian spin on the name. Either way, it's a bizarre situation, because in any other time, this would be the buzzworthy release, or even Generation Selects. Detritus is not a well-known character. He is not, a common character defined in fiction. You almost never see him unless Hound needs a repaint. So it's it's weird to see him as a retail release and the main character is a buzzworthy exclusive. It was super weird when they did that with Rise of the Beast Studio Series Optimus Prime, but at least he had a lot of other toys in the other Rise of the Beast lines to compensate. This is bizarre. Like, I feel like if Selects was as prominent now as it was during War for Cybertron Trilogy, Detritus would absolutely be a Selects release. I feel like the character got shunted from Selects after it downsized into the main line just because they needed to get the repaint out. But now, it's been so weirdly delayed that the repaint is out before the main version. I've never seen this before. You know, we saw Hound first, and then we saw Detritus, and now we can buy Detritus. People own the toy. And yet we still don't have the Hound that came before him. It's the most bizarre situation I have seen in a really, really long time. Really long time. And I'm still trying to figure out, like, you've heard it in this entire video, I'm speculating about what actually happened here. Why is there such an enormous delay on these two? And I almost feel like it might have to do with the reaction of Buzzworthy Bumblebee itself. I don't know if it's just me. But in this area, the toy line doesn't move. You know, if there's a buzzworthy figure that I find at a local Target, I can pretty much count on it being there for the next 2 months at least. And I can pretty much count on being able to find it on clearance if I wait long enough. I'm doing that with the 4-pack. I did get the 4-pack of Troop Builders, but I am waiting for them to go on clearance before I buy the number I actually want. And I think that's a common thing. I don't think I'm the only one making that plan. So I almost feel like it might not be a situation of Hasbro delaying the release. It might be Target refusing it because studio like Buzzworthy just lingers. You know, when they got in Dinobot, that thing was on the shelf for months. I don't even know if I saw a single one leave the shelves. I feel like every time I went to Target, they had the same number out as the last time I was at Target. I feel the same way about, you know, Origin Bumblebee when it first came out. I feel the same way about Blue Streak or Silver Streak, you know, things like that. And it just feels incredibly common. I felt the same way about Terrorsaur. Terrorsaur lingered, you know, Nest Ratchet lingered. Oddly enough, the only one I think moved really quick was Nest Bone Crusher. It seemed to be the only one that, like, I saw on a shelf one week and was gone the next. Everything else beyond that on Buzzworthy sticks around forever. And it just seems like it's a dumping ground for remolds and for repaints. You know, I see a lot, you know, even like a lot of Cyberverse stuff is still coming out in Buzzworthy. It's a bizarre situation. And I feel like it might just be the fact that Target doesn't want to take any more in than they have to. It might be a case of, you know, Target might have preferred Tow Line over, Hatchet and Hound, who might seem a little bit more dull. Maybe they think a brighter toy would do better. I don't know. Again, we're wildly speculating here because this situation makes no sense whatsoever. So it's probably, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably something on Hasbro's end, but also something on the retailer's end. My best guess here is that Target is just sick of getting so many exclusives that aren't moving, and Hasbro's trying to figure out what else to do with them if they don't actually want to release these as buzzworthy exclusives. In which case, you're probably going to see both of them end up in Studio Series, you know, as a standard and as an 86 movie, even though Hound had no lines and only appeared in 2 shots. But that's how it goes sometimes. So, this is a wild speculation video. And as usual, I've rambled way longer than I should have about its 2 toys. But like I said, this is kind of an unprecedented thing. I've never seen this happen before. So, in the comments, speculate along with me. Where do you think they are? What do you think happened? We will eventually get them, but start placing your bets now on how long it is going to take. The winner gets absolutely nothing but bragging rights. But hey, we had fun playing along. So, watch and wait along with me. And we will get back to these 2 when they actually show up and have proof of existence. Until then, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.
We parlay with the captain.
You think a werecroc is going to listen to elvish rules of piracy?
Of course it would be the
Got it.
freaking elves
Cool.
that invented parlay.
I had to think of a quick replacement for the French.